Welcome to this presentation on family constellations. My name is Westra van Holthe and I'm an experienced family constellations facilitator. In this video, I'm taking you on a tour on when to use constellations, some of the history of constellations, some of the theory behind my views on it, and how it can work in practice. So in my practice, people find me for three main reasons. For example, when they feel overwhelmed and they don't know where those hefty, strong, angry, sad or anxious feelings come from. Another group of people are really caught up in a conflict with someone else or don't know how to relate to their family, friends or someone else important, for example, with a colleague at work. Other people again come in because they pick up feelings from other people too quickly, or they're just simply done with continuously solving someone else's issues. What all of them connect is that they all want to find their own way to respond to their own personal, family, sometimes even business or societally complex social challenges. So do you recognize any repeating patterns in your life that come back over and over again, after every relationship, in different moments of your life, that maybe even come back in your whole family or in the community that you grew up with? Then maybe it's time to consider a family constellation. Because with a family constellation, you will get to know yourself better, become more aware of how you react to situations, improve your relationships both at home and at work, with your own children, with partners, with other family members, colleagues at work. But most importantly, a family constellation can also bring back joy and make your life more meaningful as well. So where does family constellation find its origins in? Most of all in contextual therapy. Combining a lot of the early work in the 70s, Bert Hellinger made the methodology more popular and developed it as a way to treat previously unresolvable emotional issues with people, either because they were about facts that cannot be undone, for example, how do you mourn someone that left too early, or because the feelings that you carry actually stem from pre-verbal times, like when you were still in the belly of your mom and your twin brother or sister actually died. How do you process that? The constellations were also used to deal with more collective themes, like hate in society after the Second World War. How do you forgive those that have done such injustice? Can you? So what is a family constellation? Simply put, it's a visual map and representation of your issue or question. It stands in contrast towards cognitive behavioral approaches that have often fallen short of providing a truly unburdened, refreshing experience of life. How it works is really simple. The different aspects of your problem or issue or question are visually represented by people. They, as it were, pick up the feelings that belong to that place, to that section of your inner landscape. In that sense, you could say that emotionally speaking, we travel the same journey over and over again. The one person becomes really quickly angry before he knows it. The other one becomes really sad and starts to tear. Whereas the other again starts to hide oneself and close him or herself off from any contact from others. And yet another person jumps away from any feelings or from being caught of even feeling anything. What do you hide away from? What feeling or what issue in your own family or business life? The technique of family constellations, which is really something you need to experience before you truly understand it, is applied to personal problems, relationships, children and their parents, trauma work, both in the military and in hospitals, in connection to body awareness, and in healing illnesses and physical symptoms in addition to your doctor's treatment. But it is also applied to business management and work culture change. For example, when people feel lost in what next career step they want to do, in outplacement trajectories. But it has also been proven useful in mediation trajectories, when colleagues or partners feel there's no way out of their conflict. Next to its application to dealing with feelings of overwhelm as climate activists, or around societal questions like engaging people for sustainability within the business world. Constellations do even find their application in the shamanic, the more spiritual realms and traditions. Just like every question or issue is different, just like any person or group that you work with has different needs, just like any facilitator who has another background, interests and expertise, each and every constellation is different and valuable in its own right. So let me explain what I've come to realize about highly emotional and conflictual situations and how I see constellations work as one of the many solutions to bring more awareness towards a way out of these sometimes very destructive patterns. Let's go back to the basics. Most of us grew up in our own family of origin. Not only did we get the genetic makeup from our parents, we found ourselves having the same nose, the same kind of hair, having a very similar body posture. But it's not only those things we take over from our parents and our direct family. In fact, it's also the emotions they carry we may copy consciously or unconsciously. It's the themes, the issues, the secrets that no one dared to talk about, but everyone felt. Generally, I would argue, we get sensitive to whatever issues or feelings our parents cannot, do not want to, or are not allowed by society to talk about or deal with. So this can be feelings of frustration, sadness, or anything else that you can experience as a human being. What was not talked about in your family? What was not up for discussion? Who was always right? Who was always wrong? As such, you could say that every human being has these sensitivities, these radars we get for themes and issues unaddressed from our past. Bert Hellinger, strongly influenced by his Catholic background, found through the constellations work he did and the visual mapping of emotional issues that secrets and unattended, unaddressed family issues could even be picked up by generations that were not even there in the first place, even up to 7 generations. So that means that in a society where war was only 2 generations ago, are we maybe still dealing with the after effects of that war? Is it really possible that we can pick up feelings from generations that have come before us and have experienced traumatic events? Can we indeed carry intergenerational trauma, not having experienced our ancestors' pain ourselves personally, being present then and there, yet feeling it as if it's our own? I think we can. So, how does that work? Let's say this is a family tree. It's the grandparents at the top, their children, their grandchildren, and the children of their grandchildren. Now, often we think that only our direct family members impact us. But if you were younger and you got a chance to know your grandparents, who didn't feel automatically attracted or maybe repelled by one of them? As such, you could say that between generations there's also bonds and connections. You instantly, like with your friends, understand them, even without words, without actually really knowing those family members. So let's say that in one generation someone has been excluded. They did not fit the norms and standards of those times. Then often what you see is that in order to balance what's not being seen or acknowledged, that children are going to make up and fix their parents, or grandparents for that matter, because they get a mirror that's not reflecting back the child's genuine happiness with being alive. Where in your family was no space in emotional container for your joy because of a big loss, for example of a loved one? Put simply, you could say that within each family there are different patterns. Patterns of depression, fears that are shared by family members, feeling alone even when you are together, that certain accidents happened in different generations and repeated themselves not just physically but also financially, for example with bankruptcies. Maybe even children were lost at different points within the family. How difficult it is to talk about those things, maybe even impossible. Yet all these things, and as sensitive and as open as we were when we were younger, to love all those who belong to the family, included or excluded, as children we have to take care of all, because it is all those around us who make us whole. They make us who we are. After all, we are the sum of all of them. And as such, there's no way to not include all of them, both the perpetrators and victims, in our heart. In other words, there's simply no way for us human beings to not love all those around us, because they represent all sides of us, all of what is. What or who have you become loyal to? In that sense, each one of us gets the internal, predetermined map of their family. How to live, what to avoid, and what to seek after. Who have you intentionally or unintentionally forgotten or lost touch with? And what talents are on your map? What drama is rewarded? What gifts or burdens from others are you carrying around? What should you let go that would benefit your own well-being, that may make you feel guilty for letting down who exactly? With a family constellation, you can better understand and see the patterns that are within you, but also within your family. What does your life's journey look like so far? What recurring themes or issues come back in each and every relationship of yours? What do you actually know that you should change, but somehow you cannot break through that feeling or that block? Then in that case, also when the issue is not black and white and not at all clear to you, a family constellation could definitely help out, so that you can start to walk your own and maybe even a different path. Different from your family history of pain, different from that of the societally embedded trauma within the social DNA of our organizations and institutions. So awareness work, like family constellations, is like the poem in the Tibetan book of life and death. The poem and story knows around 4 verses, wherein the monk walks in the street. In verse 1, the monk suddenly falls in a black hole. After a long time of trying to climb out, the monk finally manages to climb out and continues his way. In the 2nd verse of the poem, the monk again walks in the street, and before he knows it, he falls into the hole again. After lots of trying, he knows to find his way out and continues his way. Then the 3rd verse speaks about the monk walking in the street, pretending not to see the hole, falling in the hole, climbing out relatively quickly and continuing his way. And then the last verse goes like, he finally took another road. So what I'm trying to say here is that constellations work like any awareness work you might have tried already to solve your issue, or to look at this repeating pattern that you find yourself in, both at home and at work, of maybe feeling too much or feeling too little, maybe having lost the meaning of your life. A constellation is just one way to maybe find all of that back, to find yourself back. A constellation just functions as a mirror towards your inner world. And although a constellation may not reflect the objective truth, the experiences of those placed in the room often show true similarities to how you have experienced the situation. When you were younger, and probably as you all had the lens of a child, not seeing the whole bigger context, maybe not even understanding it all, but feeling it nonetheless, maybe your time has come to also update your relational software, to lay bare your emotional imprints, to heal your psychological scars, or, if that may not be in reach, to at least learn to live with them and use them to give meaning to your life. And perhaps even share your life journey with others, so that your experience does not get lost, goes to waste. So that whatever you have experienced may even benefit all of us, humankind. Are you looking for a way to tackle your most vulnerable, difficult, complex and unresolved relational problems? Are you looking for ways out of the pain, to break through patterns that have accompanied you for years? Then feel free to get in touch. My name is Westra van Holthe, and I'm really looking forward to meet you.